If you are a college sports fan, you know one of the best things to watch is an upset during March Madness. Unless you are a college football fan and absolutely love seeing some of the most shocking upsets in college football. You just have to love watching a small, mid-tier, or even FCS school laying it all on the line against one of those juggernaut power conference schools and beating them on offense, defense, and special teams to get the win and see their fans rush the field in amazement of their victory. There's nothing better than seeing goalposts being paraded along the streets of Nashville when Vanderbilt beat number 1 Alabama. It's the reason we watch sports, and it always keeps us entertained. As much as the underdog loves seeing their school upset the favorite, the other team is just as shocked that their chances of potentially winning a national championship just went down the drain. Today, we take a look at those moments that were the 8 most shocking upsets in college football history. You are going to want to sit down and watch these incredible moments and get your popcorn ready. Let's start with number 8 and that thriller of a game in 2007 between Pitt and West Virginia. The 2007 backyard brawl between West Virginia and Pitt still remains fresh in the memories and hearts of Mountaineer fans and is painful to bring up if you are ever having a drink at Varsity Club in Morgantown. West Virginia entered the game ranked number 2 in the nation with national title hopes for the first time in a long time. All they needed to do was beat a 4-7 Pitt team that nobody expected to even keep the game close. What could go wrong? Well, a lot, as it turned out. The stage was set in Morgantown, and the Mountaineers had a high-flying offense led by star quarterback Pat White, who had been lighting up scoreboards all season. Pitt, on the other hand, seemed like little more than a road bump. Even the odds makers had West Virginia as 28-point favorites. But from the opening kickoff, something felt off. Pitt, led by a freshman quarterback Pat Bostic, came out fighting, while West Virginia's offense sputtered right out of the gate. Pat White injured his thumb in the first half, and he was never the same. The Mountaineer attack couldn't find its rhythm, plagued by turnovers and missed opportunities, while Pitt's defense played out of their minds. Pitt's offensive game plan was simple but effective. Hand the ball to running back LaShawn Shady McCoy and let him go to work. Pitt's defense, however, was the real hero of the night, holding the Mountaineer offense to just 1 touchdown the whole game. West Virginia had multiple chances to score, but each time they seemed to find new ways to shoot themselves in the foot. A blocked field goal, a missed 4th down conversion, and a fumble. It was a nightmarish comedy of errors. In the end, Pitt's unlikely victory sent shockwaves through the college football world. West Virginia's dream of playing for a national championship was crushed. The 13-9 defeat not only dashed their title hopes, but also set the stage for head coach Rich Rodriguez to leave for Michigan shortly after the game, adding more salt to the wound. For Pitt fans, it was the ultimate underdog story, one they'll cherish forever. For West Virginia fans, it was a nightmare, especially against their bitter rival. Up next at number 7 is the 2017 matchup between Syracuse and Clemson. Dabo Swinney's defending national champions went into the Carrier Dome thinking this is their road tour to becoming back-to-back national champions. Those folks from upstate New York said, "Not so fast."
Corso. Not so fast, my friend. Clemson. Who did you pick?
This game will forever be remembered as one of those wild nights where college football just didn't follow the script. Kind of like West Virginia in that 2007 game, Clemson was ranked number 2 in the country and expected to steamroll the unranked Syracuse Orange. But the Orange had other plans, and what unfolded was a Friday the 13th shocker that left Clemson fans stunned and Syracuse fans in a state of disbelief. Clemson's offense couldn't find its usual rhythm. Quarterback Kelly Bryant, who was leading the Tigers in his first season as the starter, was struggling. And to make matters worse, he suffered a concussion late in the second quarter. That meant Clemson had to turn to backup quarterback Zarek Cooper. And while the young quarterback did his best, the offense just wasn't the same without Bryant's dynamic playmaking ability. In the fourth quarter, Syracuse held a narrow 27-24 lead, and Clemson had a chance to tie the game with a late field goal, but they opted to go for it on a critical 4th down, deep in their own territory. Syracuse defense stood tall. The upset was sealed, and Syracuse fans rushed the field in celebration of their 27-24 victory over the mighty Clemson Tigers, and with ambitious chants of "We want Bama" in the final seconds of the game. For Syracuse, this was a defining moment. Head coach Dino Babers gave a post-game speech that became instantly iconic, telling his players to never forget tonight and that they had just put Syracuse football back on the map, a la the Donovan McNabb days. For Clemson, it was a gut-wrenching loss that nearly derailed their playoff hopes, but they would go on to bounce back and still make the college football playoff later that season. Heading to number 6 on our list is 2010 and the instant classic of a game between Virginia Tech and the Fighting Dukes of JMU. Yeah, that's right. James Madison played their big brother school just south of them on I-81 in a game with quite a few storylines. The game was played on 9/11 in 2010. Tyrod Taylor was the quarterback for the Hokies. JMU was playing in Blacksburg in one of the best stadium atmospheres in the nation. It was a rainy and soggy game, and JMU was a Division II team at the time. Virginia Tech led JMU 13-7 at half, and it was a pretty basic game in the first half with the Hokies dominating every category in the game. But then, a couple of touchdowns by a tough running game along with a third-quarter pick off a Tyrod Taylor pass by safety Jonathan Williams put the Dukes right in the mix to take the lead, which they did, with JMU's quarterback Drew Dudzik running in a couple of touchdowns. Frank Beamer's Hokies were stunned. The Blacksburg, well, at least the Tech side of it, was stunned, and a late fourth-quarter fumble from the Hokies right as they were about to score sealed the deal. JMU goes on to win the game 21-16 in stunning fashion. Beamer ball would never be the same, and JMU's program would go on to rise to the level of their other in-state counterparts in the FBS. Number 5 on our list is another game from 2007 between Stanford and USC. Now, these two legendary and now defunct Pac-12 conference rivals were led by iconic head coaches, Pete Carroll for USC and Jim Harbaugh for Stanford. You just knew this was going to be a fun game to watch, regardless of the outcome. Would you believe that USC was favored to win by 41 points? Well, the odds makers got this one wrong, and Captain Comeback Jim Harbaugh had his backup quarterback prepared and ready to break USC's 35-game home winning streak at the LA Coliseum. Would you believe the last team to beat USC at home was Stanford back in 2001? Would you also believe Stanford's go-ahead touchdown was set up by a huge 4th and 20 conversion with a catch from former Seattle Seahawks cornerback Richard Sherman? Well, both of those facts are true, and with USC's quarterback John David Booty's 4 picks in the game, the turnovers were just too much to overcome. Stanford's win against USC at the LA Coliseum was announced at another game across town at the Rose Bowl, where UCLA was playing Notre Dame, both huge rivals of USC. And would you believe, the entire stadium erupted in unison when they heard Stanford beat USC. It was the first time that UCLA fans were on the same side as the Notre Dame fans. Unbelievable. Number 4 on the list is once again another game from 2007, and it was the New Year's Day Fiesta Bowl between Boise State and national powerhouse Oklahoma. If you missed this game because you were hungover from New Year's Eve partying, you missed one hell of a game. Boise State proved to the college football world that a mid-major school could play with the top programs in the country. Although Boise State was undefeated at 12-0, they were huge underdogs against the Big 12 champion Oklahoma Sooners. The Sooners were leading 35-28 with just a minute left in regulation. Boise State was facing a 4th and 18, and they decided to pull one of the wildest plays in college football history. If you ever played football in the park or in your backyard, or are a fan of that 90s football movie Varsity Blues, you dreamed of pulling this play off in a real game. And Broncos quarterback Jared Zabransky actually did it. He flawlessly executed the hook and ladder play where he threw a short pass to Drisson James, who then quickly lateraled the ball to Jared Robb to tie the game with a touchdown and face overtime. In overtime, Boise State's head coach Chris Peterson made another bold move and doubled down on his trick play called the Statue of Liberty to beat Oklahoma 43-42 in one of the most unforgettable finishes in college football history. Boise State remained undefeated, and Oklahoma was left stunned. Number 3 on our list of most shocking college football upsets involves another 2007 game with the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame and those resilient midshipmen from Annapolis at the Naval Academy. Notre Dame and Navy face off every year, with Notre Dame usually whooping up on Navy in a rout, but not this time. In 2007, Navy decided to end Notre Dame's 43-year streak of beating them. Notre Dame's head coach Charlie Weis was having a pretty bad year. No, strike that. He was having a disgustingly bad year. At 1-7, they were on track to being the worst team in Notre Dame history. Well, this Navy game didn't help matters. The entire game was a back-and-forth exchange of touchdowns. What kept Navy in the game was their flawless execution of their triple option, which kept Notre Dame's defense second-guessing their reads the entire game. Notre Dame's passing along with Navy's option allowed the game to end in regulation with a 28-28 tie. The game ended up going into 3 overtimes, with Notre Dame failing to convert a 2-point conversion and losing 46-44 in South Bend. The crowd was silent and shocked, but the Navy bench rushed the field in one of the biggest upsets in over 4 decades. The singing of Navy's blue and gold alma mater says it all. Number 2 on our list is that incredible matchup that we just watched earlier this year in 2024, where Alabama faced off against Vanderbilt in their home in Nashville. In the previous week, Alabama had a huge win against their SEC conference rivals, Georgia. It was an emotional win that took everything they had to beat the number 2 team. After that win, Bama would be ranked number 1 in the country and would travel to face Vanderbilt, who had historically been a no-show on game day when they play Alabama. In fact, before 2024, the last time Vanderbilt beat Alabama was over 40 years ago in 1984. And do you know the last time Vanderbilt ever beat a top 5 team? Never. Alabama was undefeated at 4-0 and Vandy was sitting even at 2-2. Vandy drew first blood with a power run touchdown from running back Cedric Alexander to take an early 7-0 lead. Heisman hopeful Jalen Milroe had his pass batted up in the air with Vandy's defense catching it in the air and returning it 24 yards for a pick-6 touchdown and 13-0 lead in the first quarter. The crowd's chants of VU, VU grew louder and louder as the game went on. And that foghorn that Vandy blows every time they score was about to get stuck in the on position because they kept scoring and scoring and scoring the entire game. 40 points. They scored 40 points on Bama's defense. Quarterback Jalen Milroe and 17-year-old freshman receiver Ryan Williams tried to dig them out of their hole, but they fell short and the Bama defense couldn't stop Vandy's last drive of the game. Final score, Vandy 40, Bama 35. And Nashville will never be the same. In one of the most shocking upsets in college football history, the fans decided to tear down the goalposts and carry them down Broadway in downtown Nashville in celebration of beating the number 1 team in the country. And finally, the number 1 most shocking upset in college football history is none other than that Rocky Balboa underdog of a team, Appalachian State, facing off against Lloyd Carr's Michigan Wolverines in the 2007 season opener. Now, something must have been in the water in 2007, because from New Year's Day at the Fiesta Bowl between Boise State and Oklahoma to all of these games in the 2007 season, there were just a ton of great games and even better upsets from underdog school football programs. This matchup between Appalachian State and Michigan was the best of all of them. Other than their fans in Boone, North Carolina, who has ever heard of Appalachian State before this 2007 game? Now, be honest, because I know you haven't. Well, if you were a fan of Division I AA football, now called the FCS, you might have heard of Appalachian State pretty often. This program was not only good in the 2000s, they won consecutive Southern Conference championships as well as national championships in 2005, 2006, and 2007. They were a team with a Division I best 14-game winning streak and a team to not be taken lightly. Well, someone should have given the message to Ann Arbor, because Appalachian State put their program on the map and put a clinic on how to beat a top 5 team in their own home at Michigan. The Appalachian State Mountaineers had an explosive second quarter, scoring 2 touchdowns and leading Michigan at the half 28-17. The Michigan crowd of 110,000 was both stunned and nervous at halftime. But Michigan running back Mike Hart's 188 yards rushing kept Michigan in the game and even the lead with his 2 touchdowns, including a 54-yard touchdown run to take the lead in the fourth quarter. Appalachian State marched down the field with 30 seconds left to kick a chip shot of a field goal to take a 34-32 lead. However, Michigan would get the ball back with 15 seconds left. Michigan quarterback and retired Chiefs backup to Patrick Mahomes, Chad Henne, would take Michigan's offense down to the 18 with a huge pass to wide receiver Mario Manningham. Michigan was ready to kick a 37-yard field goal for the win. Now, earlier in the game, Appalachian State blocked a Michigan field goal, and wouldn't you believe, the Mountaineers did the exact same thing to end the game. Mountaineers head coach Jerry Moore gets hoisted and carried off the field in triumph, and the landscape of college football was changed forever. What a matchup. My heart is still racing reliving these incredible moments in college football history. Let me know what you have as your favorite college football upsets. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments in the comment section below. Can't wait to see what upsets you have in store for all of us. Until next time.